Banner, what are you eating?
Chicken palm.
Oh, did you make me one?
No.
Fucking dick. We are the Bro 4 Squad, and this is our spoilers review on Marvel's Netflix The Punisher. I'm Matt Jigsaw Geiger, along with Brian Micro Banner, grading this on our 5 criteria. Cast, story, best scene, impacts, and we threw out rewatchability, and we're just going to do final thoughts. So, let's go down to his lab where he has been hiding from the Fed since he was born. Brian Banner with Cast.
I'm glad that you introduced me as Micro because I basically am Micro.
You are.
For those of you at home, behind the scenes, a lot of the technical recording, audio, video, building stuff all happens in the lab. And I look just like Micro does in this show. How brilliant is it to have him as an NSA analyst who finds something out? He's a hacker. Like, he actually has some meat on the bones. He's not just some dude that finds Frank Castle's guns. I think that his storyline is the best secondary storyline of any of the Marvel shows. Any of them.
I'll agree with that.
I love his arc, hiding from his family or having to watch his family but not being able to be with them, and then seeing them at the end, and then the way that he has to track down Castle and work with this dude that he really doesn't like, and then learning about him. I thought he did a fantastic job. What was the dude's name? Let me pull it up because I've been drinking a little. He
reminds me, like, this is Thanksgiving right now, and for those of you that don't know, Banner has a beard and really long hair, and after about a 3-day weekend, that's what Banner looks like. He hasn't showered. He's just been watching his computer. Yeah, he pisses in the corner and just drinks scotch the entire time. That's the whole time I watched that, I was like, dude, that is Brian Banner for sure.
Yeah, Eben Moss Branchard. That's who plays Micro. He did a fantastic job. Everything about him, they wrote his character. I think they wrote his character better than any of the other characters in the show. I know you may disagree with me on a couple of things. The only other person I want to really point out here is Dina Madani, Amber Rose Revan. She was fucking terrible. I don't know if it was the actress. I don't know if it was how they wrote her, but she's the Homeland Security agent who is investigating the Kandahar incidents and all that stuff. Excuse me.
Oh.
She was just god awful. At times, it was really hard to watch.
She's like a poor person's, I think her name was like Rosie Perez, the chicks from White Man Can't Jump or whatever. Yeah. She's like the poor person's that.
She's the great value version of her.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the great value version. That's the hee-haw version or the RC Cola version of her. For cast, I had Bernthal, of course. Sometimes we don't pick the cherry right off top in some of these because, of course, Bernthal's awesome. You saw him in Daredevil Season 2. He takes off right from there, but also gives his character even more depth in this, I feel. He is the Punisher. I really thought Thomas Jane was. I'm sorely mistaken. Bernthal is the Punisher, plays Castle perfectly. Curtis really brings together Bernthal and Billy Russo's character, who I'll touch on in a second, but I really liked him. I was wondering where he would fit in this after about 3 episodes, but I didn't really care because I liked his arc, and he became full circle throughout the story too, and really brought together a bunch of the other characters, including Lewis as well, having the interventions for a bunch of the vets with PTSD. And Billy Russo, I don't think you guys would know him from anything else besides Westworld. He was in there for a bit, but he was casted perfectly.
He's also in Chronicles of Narnia.
Okay, no one has ever seen that, but
I was just telling you what else he's in. I'm giving the fans what they want.
Okay. He was casted perfectly. Honestly, probably the best villain story arc we've ever had in any Marvel Netflix series ever, I believe. Even better than Fisk.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think because of his connection to Frank Castle throughout the whole thing and how their characters are intertwined, I would agree his character arc and character development was probably the best. I think I like Fisk a little bit more, but
see, I don't, because I like the guy that's just like, dude, I'm good looking, I'm fucking badass.
You are Billy Russo, though. You're like a pretty boy that.
I know.
What would happen if your good looks went away?
Yeah, and that's why I think his character arc, and what I said is he has the best character arc of any Marvel Netflix villain ever, but it's not even ending yet because I believe we're going to get Jigsaw in Punisher Season 2, hopefully, and that's when it's really going to turn. So going right into story, man, there's a lot here. I mean, I just went over Jigsaw, how Billy Russo and Bernthal were in the military together. They were boys. Now they're, back on U.S. homeland. Russo's running Anvil, which is, you're familiar with the comics. If you're not, read up on it. It's kind of a cool deal that Marvel does. And he basically is just a pretty boy. He's getting money from kind of illegal sources and shit. Frank finds out. They clash between that. You got Lewis, who's just an army vet with PTSD, that goes to Curtis's kind of
support group.
Roundtable support groups that plays a huge role in this. But Banner, Micro's storyline's awesome because we've talked about this all pod. We're just thinking about faking our deaths, so we get about 3 years just away from our wives, and me and you can just live underground. We get NFL Sunday ticket. We just drink scotch and just grow out beards and just fuck around. This is better than our Jaws theory that we just go out and try to catch fish. We're just drinking beer.
Yeah, this is our Jaws theory, except we don't have the danger of catching a man-eating shark, and there's Sunday ticket involved. So that's a win-win.
We'd have Netflix down there, and the whole time we would be videotaping our wives, so if any guy got kind of close, then we'd just kind of reappear.
Yeah, we'd just show back up.
Yeah, right before they would have sex with another guy, we'd just be like, hey, we've been alive this whole time.
I'd just be like, hey, yeah, a cell phone saved my life. I got shot in the chest. That was the only thing I kind of didn't like about it, was that you got shot in the chest. I'm sorry, an iPhone 7 is not going to stop a fucking bullet from going through your heart. But I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't have that iPhone, so maybe it will.
Last thing I'll say about the story before we jump on to best scene, man, is these Marvel Netflix, and I know I bash Marvel sometimes for being too poppy, but these Netflix shows really have a soft spot in my heart. Everyone knows that. But they're not just superhero stories. They're fucking TV shows. I mean, after about 4 episodes, they leave you on cliffhangers about every single episode where I'm like, what the fuck's going to happen next? I need to watch. And before you know it, you watched about 5 episodes out of the 13. They do a very, very great job on that throughout every single series they have had.
It's very, very hard to do that when you have a show that you can binge watch. It's very easy to go, oh, hey, I'm going to just make these 2 or 3 episodes kind of the same episode. These ones are very almost serialized where you don't know what's going to happen in the next one, and you're pissed when you have to leave and you can't just continue watching on. As far as the storyline, again, I love Micro's arc. I already talked about that. It's fantastic. Madani, her arc is really weird. I think part of it is she was a really bad actress, so it was hard for me to look past it. When Sam Stein, her partner, dies, when Russo just fucking brutally slits his throat, which is a fantastic episode in the firefight. And I think that was supposed to be kind of her turn, and I didn't feel the turn as much. But I really felt it at that point, Russo's turn, because he straight up slits her partner's throat in front of her, gets away, and then goes and sponge baths, cleans her at her apartment. Like, that dude is fucking, like, there's something wrong with him.
I'm glad that he was just playing her the whole time, because I'm like, dude, she's a 6 to you. What are you doing here? You could, bang a lot of hot chicks.
Yeah, no, okay. Karen Page is better than her.
Yeah. Best scene. Go ahead and pick the best scene, because there is a best scene in this, and I'll take the scraps.
Yeah, I called this shit because I finished it first. A mile away. It's when he clears the basement. This is the equivalent to the Daredevil hallway scene, the staircase scene. When he clears that basement and just fucks up, what is it, like 20 dudes that come down there? And how he has everything strategically placed. He has the light bulb with the gunpowder in it. It is absolutely fantastic. That's when we see him actually put the Punisher vest on with the paint on it. That is why we watch this show. That is what we wanted. That scene right there, you could give me a mediocre rest of the show, but that scene just puts it over the top. That's kind of like what we talk about. An end credit scene makes a movie a C+ to a B-. That scene right there took this show from a A- to an A.
I love that about Netflix too, man, is the heroes don't put on the suits every time. especially in this, you only get Punisher putting on the Punisher suit twice at the very beginning and then during that scene. I love that. I know a lot of people will be like, dude, why isn't he wearing the Punisher shit like in the comics? This is real life. I mean, he's not every single time going to be like, wait, let me put on the Punisher.
This isn't Batman. If you want them wearing the suit all the time, go watch Batman and Robin. Yeah,
that's not what this is. I have two because I'm hosting, so I can have fucking 8 if I want to. Episode 10, the whole thing is a fucking best scene, man. How they
did
it,
Vantage Point.
Yes, they did it like Vantage Point, which is an okay movie. I mean, it's pretty cool, but they took it and I had to rewind it twice before I actually watched the whole thing. I was like, why is Frank working with Lewis? That makes no fucking sense. But I'm like, it's everyone's opinion or their statement, which you can see why our court system's so fucked up because the senator's given one opinion to save his ass. Karen Page is probably given the real opinion, and someone else is given another opinion. And it just proves, even in our society now, that whenever something happens, did it happen like that, or they just do that because the story just sounds cool, tagging Frank and Lewis together? It made me think a lot about, kind of a lot of other serious stuff that still hasn't, even we don't even really know who did it. I'm like, man, is our media really controlling all of this, which is actually probably true. The other one is Batman's biggest comic arc is his parents dying, same as Spider-Man with Uncle Ben. They took Punisher's biggest comic arc and made it the final scene between him and Jigsaw, and I fucking loved it. The pony scene where he actually fucks up Russo's face, I didn't really see that coming, which you kind of touched on this scene too in Curtis's apartment whenever he was looking at him through the scope, whenever he had the bullets taken out. He's like, meet me at the White Pony is where it all began. And I was like, dude, where it all began is where it all is going to end. I was like, that's kind of poetic justice. And I was like, that's fucking brilliant. And whoever came up with that at the round table at the MCU, you need to get fucking paid or you need to move on to a different job or something, man, because that is a brilliant plan. That was how you should end this fucking series. I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. And you touched on another one of my favorite scenes right there at the end.
What, with Curtis?
Yeah, with Curtis. Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic how they brought. I didn't see that coming. I did not see that Frank Castle and Curtis were setting up Russo right like that.
Okay, impacts on pulp culture. I have two things. One is Infinity War. These guys might show up. I don't know how. I don't know how you can. And I'm not saying that Infinity War is a pussy movie by any means. It's just whenever movies are shown in the theater, you got to have some restraint. You got to have it PG-13 so you make more money. I get that. After this series, how the hell are you going to have the Punisher show up? That's one thing. And the other thing is, where does the MCU go from here? I'm talking as a company. Disney's going to get their own channel. They're not going to have it on Netflix anymore. So are you going to have a Punisher Season 2 in a year next to Cinderella and Anastasia and the Little Rascals and whatever the hell else? It just doesn't fit. So I'm hoping they keep it this dark. I love this series. I love that it's this dark. I'm not going to watch it again tomorrow because it's so fucking dark. That's some questions that I have, and I honestly don't even have the answer to.
Yeah, I think that regardless of what they do, they have to keep it this dark, and they have to keep it this tone. But I don't know. I don't know how else to do it. I don't know if they're going to put it on their show or on their channel, or if they're going to leave it on Netflix. As long as they keep the tone, I don't really give a shit. One thing I have on Impact here is some of the stuff that they touched on with the PTSD and with the Lewis. It was so real.
Yeah.
And I did not join the military. I have the utmost respect for everybody who is in the military and has ever been in the military. My brother was in the military. And some of the stuff that they touch on and some of the things that they show that these veterans are dealing with, I've never experienced firsthand. And this was me experiencing it firsthand. I felt the pain and what these guys were going through. Maybe not to the extent that I want to go and blow up a senator. But, they really shed a lot of light on what these guys go through and what goes through their heads. And I thought that was very, very powerful coming from a show that, I mean, it's a superhero show. I mean, kind of. That's the genre that we're in. It's not a superhero show, but that's the genre that it's categorized in.
the Punisher's probably more of an anti-hero. So I thought it was perfect. If you would have told me that before, I would have been like, well, that might take away from stuff. But I felt like this did what American Sniper or those movies with, who's the actor I fucking hate that's always
Miles
trying
Teller.
to...
I can't fucking stand him.
See, Miles Teller, his problem is he's doing this because he wants a fucking Oscar. He doesn't give a shit about the troops, in my opinion. This, I think, once again, I'm not in the military either, but I think military people can watch this and be like, yeah, man, that's what we fucking go through. And it is kind of bullshit that we fight overseas and then we come back home and just a bunch of, senators that do coke and order prostitutes make the fucking calls. That's not fair at all.
How funny was that scene, though?
I loved it, man. I love the Democratic left wing, and I'm not, I don't vote, but the Democratic left wing dude that's like, dude, I'm against guns, but I'm gonna hire Anvil because I don't want to fucking die. Like, I love that because that is politics, man. They are to the left, but they'll go to the right as soon as it, secludes to them. Okay, final thoughts. We're gonna do final thoughts. I got a couple final thoughts. One final thought is, when the fuck does this take place? Because honestly, this doesn't tie in to anything, which is fine. It was perfect, but it doesn't. If this takes place in New York City, where the fuck's Iron Fist? Because that's his city now, right? Because we don't know where Daredevil is. If, in fact, this takes place during or after the Defenders. The other thing I have is it needs to be a Punisher 2 season. Don't tie in. It needs to be Frank versus Jigsaw. You set it up so perfectly. It needs to be mano a mano. I don't want to have Luke Cage in there. I don't want to have anybody in there. And I love Daredevil and Luke Cage, but I don't want them in there. And the last thing for final thoughts, the last scene was awesome when Frank's in the support group, but it fits his character arc perfectly because he went rogue after Civil War. It would have been cool to have Steve Rogers just sit beside him.
Even Falcon would have been cool.
Him or Falcon, whenever they panned out, if they were just right there, they didn't have to say anything at all. You're just like, okay, they went rogue too, and they're in that support group too. That's my final thoughts. I think that was a missed opportunity. I guess they didn't want to take anything away from Bernthal because that's his show and he did it perfectly and he should end it. But I thought that would be kind of a little tight because they haven't done it. They didn't do anything else to tie it into any of the other MCU.
The only playing devil's advocate here, because I agree with you, that would have been really cool. Playing devil's advocate is if they are not going to put Punisher in Infinity War, you can't mix Steve Rogers or the Falcon or any of the people that broke out of the prison in this if we're not going to have him cross over into the movie.
He's in the universe, but I don't mind him not being in Infinity War because you got something so raw and so just awesome going on here. I don't want to fuck with it to have Downey or somebody make a joke of it, Yeah. Even though I love it, you have something here, just don't fuck with it. What are some of your final thoughts? One
of my final thoughts is I agree with you. I think we need a Punisher season 2. But at the same time, I think we need... All of these have a lot of tie-ins and a lot of crossovers. This is kind of the first one that hasn't tied in or crossed over in some form with another show. Daredevil obviously was the first, so it can't cross over. Daredevil season 2 crossed into a Punisher, led to the Punisher. Luke Cage and Jessica Jones crossover. Then you have Rosario Dawson, which that's one thing I want to talk about. Fuck yes, the showrunners for Punisher, not putting Nurse Claire in this. He bled so much, you could have put her in it so easily.
Yeah.
Thank you for not. I'm so over her. That was a fantastic thing that you guys did by not putting her in there. But you have to have some sort of crossover throughout all of these shows. So I think in Daredevil season 3, what you have to do, Frank Castle has to show up for, I don't know, maybe about midway through the season and fuck up a bunch of Fisk's dudes. Okay? Then Fisk comes back. All you see is a scene where Fisk and Jigsaw are talking, and Fisk basically goes, Jigsaw, I need you to take care of something for me. And then we don't see Punisher and we don't see Jigsaw the rest of the season. Then Punisher season 2 is Jigsaw and Frank Castle going mano a mano because he's getting paid by Fisk.
I'll say one thing before I know we'll get comments about this. I know it crosses over because Karen Page is in it, and the one cop from Daredevil's in it. I'm talking about when Karen Page is in it, she doesn't say shit about Matt. about Foggy, about the Defenders, about the whole hand thing, or nothing. She didn't say anything. So I have no clue when this even takes place.
This might be right before the Defenders, really. I have no idea.
I have no clue, but if it's right before the Defenders, like, wouldn't Frank help out? That's the thing, and I don't really care because I enjoyed seeing it, and honestly, I'm kind of to the point now that if you're going to make Marvel make one character kind of jokey and one really serious, I don't really want an extended universe because I don't want Frank Castle in there, who I fucking love, that is bleeding all the time and kills people, to be by Rocket Raccoon. I don't really want that. I maybe some people do.
If that happened,
I don't know.
Frank Castle would take a sawed-off shotgun to Rocket Raccoon's head.
But if it's in a movie, he wouldn't, because he can't, because it's PG-13. So if you have anything about that, comment below, guys. I feel that some of these shouldn't be in an extended universe. I love what they're doing with the Punisher right now, and I think they should just kind of leave it alone. Same with Daredevil. I don't think they should be in Infinity War. I really don't. All right. We've been the Bro4 Squad. Check us out. Website, bro4squad.com. Twitter, @bro4squad. Tweet at us, follow us, and subscribe to us on YouTube and Twitter. Until then, we'll catch you later.
Dude, could you survive if you lost that much blood?
Dude, honestly, after watching that show, I could take like 8 bullets and an arrow.
Oh, I could
Keep
definitely
trucking.
take an arrow.